A warning to all you drivers at Christmas. Be careful about drunk driving as we are getting close to Christmas and police are out there checking on people. Last night I was out for a few drinks. One thing led to another and I had a few too many cocktails and then went on to the wine. Not a good idea. Knowing I was over the limit, I decided to leave my car at the bar and took a bus home. Sure enough, I passed a police checkpoint where they were pulling over drivers and performing breathalyzer tests. Because I was in a bus, they just waved it past. I arrived home safely and without incident, which was a real surprise as I've never driven a bus before and I am not even sure where I got it from. What did Santa say when he saw a Christmas tree with no ornaments? This is just a plain old, tremendous disappointment.
What do Pink Floyd, Trump, Princess Diana, Cliff Burton, and Paul Walker have in common? Their biggest hits were The Wall, Knock Knock, Who's There, Banana, Banana Who, Banana Banana, Knock Knock, Who's There, Banana, Banana Who, Banana Banana, Knock Knock, Who's There, Banana, Banana Who, Banana Banana, Knock Knock, Who's There, Orange, Orange Who, Orange You glad I didn't say banana?
Why was the Christmas elf always getting in trouble? Because he had a bad case of elf control issues. What do you get when you cross a Christmas card and a lawnmower? A card that cuts through the holiday clutter. I asked my wife what she wanted for Christmas. She said, nothing would make me happier than a diamond necklace. So I bought her nothing. What do you call someone who gives out soda on Christmas? Santa Claus. What's the difference between the Christmas alphabet and the regular alphabet? The Christmas alphabet has no L. Did you hear about the kidnapping at school? It's okay. He woke up. Hear about the new restaurant called Karma? There's no menu, you get what you deserve. Why can't you explain puns to kleptomaniacs? They always take things literally. What's the difference between ignorance and indifference? I don't know and I don't care. A man gestures for a woman to lean over towards him. Can you keep a secret? The woman leans in curiously and says, yeah. The man says, so can I. The man walks away. Pony walks into a bar and says with a raspy voice, I'd like a beer please. Bartender says, what's wrong with your voice? Pony replies, I'm just a little hoarse. Why don't elves ever get into relationships? They are all about short-term fun. What do you call a Christmas wreath made out of $100 bills? Aretha Franklin's. Jack woke up with a huge hangover after attending his company's Christmas party. He didn't even remember how he got home from the party. As bad as he was feeling, he wondered if he had done something wrong. Jack had to force himself to open his eyes, and the first thing he saw was a couple of aspirins next to a glass of water on the side table. And, next to them, a single red rose. Jack sat up and saw his clothing in front of him, all clean and pressed. He looked around the room and saw that it was in perfect order, and spotlessly clean. So was the rest of the house. He took the aspirins and cringed when he saw a huge black eye staring back at him in the bathroom mirror. Then he noticed a note hanging on the corner of the mirror written in red with little hearts on it and a kiss mark from his wife in lipstick. Honey, breakfast is on the stove. I left early to get groceries to make you your favorite dinner tonight. I love you, darling. He stumbled to the kitchen and sure enough, there was hot breakfast, steaming hot coffee, and the morning newspaper. His son was also at the table, eating. Jack asked, son, what happened last night? Well, you came home after 3 a.m., drunk and out of your mind. You fell over the coffee table and broke it, and then you puked in the hallway, and got that black eye when you ran into the door. Confused, he asked his son, so, why is everything in such perfect order and so clean? I have a rose, and breakfast is on the table waiting for me. His son replied, oh that. Mum dragged you to the bathroom to clean you up, and when she tried to take your pants off, you screamed, leave me alone, I'm married. There was a man who worked for the post office whose job was to process all the mail that had illegible addresses. One day, a letter came addressed in shaky handwriting to God with no address. He thought he should open it to see what it was about. The letter read, "Dear God, I am an 83-year-old widow, living on a very small pension. Yesterday someone stole my purse. It had £100 in it, which was all the money I had until my next pension check. Next Sunday is Christmas, and I had invited 2 of my friends over for dinner. Without that money, I have nothing to buy food with. I have no family to turn to, and you are my only hope. Can you please help me? Sincerely, Edna." The postal worker was touched. He showed the letter to all the other workers. Each one dug into his or her wallet and came up with a few pounds. By the time he made the rounds, he had collected £96, which they put into an envelope and sent to the woman. For the rest of the day, all the workers felt a warm glow, thinking of Edna and the dinner she would be able to share with her friends. Christmas came and went. A few days later, another letter came from the same old lady to God. All the workers gathered around while the letter was opened. It read, "Dear God, how can I ever thank you enough for what you did for me? Because of your gift of love, I was able to fix a glorious dinner for my friends. We had a very nice day, and I told my friends of your wonderful gift. By the way, £4 was missing. I think it must have been those half-wits at the post office. My kids said they wanted a cat for Christmas. I replied, normally we have turkey, but okay. Did you know in South Africa there is a crocodile that can jump higher than the average house? This is due to its powerful back legs and the fact that the average house can't jump. This man took his car to the mechanic because it was making a terrible noise. The mechanic removed the Mariah Carey Christmas CD, and now it's fine." Grasshopper walks into a bar. The bartender says, "We have a drink named after you." The grasshopper says, "Really? You have a drink named Neil? Where do animals go when their tails fall off?" Walmart. They are one of the largest retailers in the world. A nurse walks into a coffee shop after the end of a long shift. She orders something and swipes her card. When the cashier asks her to sign the receipt, the nurse pulls a rectal thermometer out of her pocket and stares at it in surprise. The cashier says, "Hey, what's with the thermometer?" The nurse replies, "I think some asshole took my pen." How many nurses does it take to change a light bulb? 2. 1 to change it, and 1 to co-sign. What did the nurse say when the doctor decided to stay home? Suit yourself. How can you tell the nurse is having a bad day? She can't find her pencil, and her tampon is behind her ear. What do you get when you mix milk of magnesia and orange juice? A Phillips screwdriver. A nurse sits on Santa's lap and he asks what she wants for Christmas. She states, "Unicorn." He says, "Oh my, those are very rare and hard to come by. You have to choose something else." She replies, "Safe staffing and grateful patience." Santa says, "What color unicorn?"
Why did the second monkey fall out of the tree? Peer pressure. Why did the third monkey fall out of the tree? He was stapled to the first monkey.
How do you tell the difference between a nurse and a respiratory therapist? Put them both up to their necks in shit and throw snot at them. The nurse will duck. 2 guys are sitting in a bar on the top floor of a skyscraper. One guy turns to the other and says, "I'll bet you $100 I can jump out that window, float for 30 seconds, and climb back in without falling." "That's impossible," the other guy says. "You on?" The bartender stops to watch as the 2 guys approach the window. The guy who made the bet opens the window and climbs out. Sure enough, he floats for 30 seconds without falling, and then climbs back in. He demands his $100. The other guy is stunned. Double or nothing says, "If you can do it, I can too." "You're on," the first guy agrees. The second guy climbs out the window and plummets 40 stories to his death. The first guy quietly walks back to the bar and orders another drink. The bartender hands him his drink and says, "You sure are mean when you drunk, Superman." Bob has just been put in prison, and he's really nervous. But once his cellmate shows him who to avoid and who to make friends with, he starts to feel a little better. On his first night in, after lights out, one of the prisoners shouts out into the darkness. 52. The cell block erupts into laughter. After a few minutes, a different voice shouts out, 87. More laughter. Bob asks his cellmate, "Hey, what's up with the numbers?" His cellmate says, "A lot of these guys are lifers, so we kind of developed a code. All the jokes we know have numbers, like a shorthand. If you want to tell a joke, you just say the number, and everyone knows which one it is." Bob says, "That's pretty cool. Can I try?" "Sure." So Bob lifts his head and shouts out, 33. Dead silence. Bob starts to sweat. What's wrong? Is 33 a bad joke? Cellmate shrugs. No, but it's the way you're telling it.
Two nuns were riding their bikes through Paris when one nun says to the other, "I have never come this way before." The other nun responds, "Must be the cobblestones. Did you hear about that magician in Mexico? He got up on stage and said he was going to disappear on the count of 3. He begins to count, uno, dos. Poof, he vanished without a trace."
Did you hear about the constipated mathematician? He worked it out with a pencil. A guy buys 24 suppositories one day. Comes in the next day and buys 24 more. The guy behind the counter asks, "You eating these?" Response, "What do you expect me to do? Stick them up my ass?" A couple in their 80s were having problems remembering things, so they decided to go to the doctor for a checkup. The doctor tells them that they are physically okay, but they might want to start writing things down to help them remember. Later that night, while watching TV, the old man gets up from his chair. His wife asks, "Where are you going?" "To the kitchen for a drink," he replies. She asks, "Will you get me a piece of cake?" The husband says, "Sure." She gently reminds him, "Don't you think you should write it down so you don't forget it?" He says, "No, I can certainly remember that." Then the woman says, "Well, I'd like some strawberries on top." "You better write it down because I know you'll forget it." The man replies, "I can remember that. You want some cake with strawberries?" She adds, "I'd also like whipped cream on top." "Now I'm certain you're gonna forget that, so you'd better write it down, okay?" Irritated, he says, "I don't need to write it down, woman. I can remember that. Cake with strawberries. And whipped cream." He then grumbles into the kitchen. After about 30 minutes, the old man returns from the kitchen and hands his wife a plate of bacon and eggs. She stares at the plate for a moment and says, "Where's my toast?"
A man walks into a train station and says to the clerk, "2 tickets to Pittsburgh, please." Realizing his mistake, the man is very embarrassed and begins to blush and stammer. "I'm so sorry, I mean 2 tickets to Pittsburgh." "No problem," says the clerk and gives him the tickets. "I really don't know how that happened, you have my deepest apologies," says the man. "I'm a family man, I'm a Christian, I am never profane, and now look what I've done." "It's not a big deal," says the clerk. "I totally get it, my friend, it was just a simple slip of the tongue." "Yes," cries the man, relieved. "That's all it was, a slip of the tongue, could happen to anyone." The clerk says, "Why, it happened to me just this morning. I meant to say to my wife, please pass the orange juice, but instead I said you ruined my life, you fucking whore."
A man was waiting for a bus at a bus stop. The man had 2 long carrots in his ears. When the bus pulls up, the bus driver looks confused and asks, "Sir, why do you have carrots in your ears?" The man replies yelling, "What? I can hear you, I have carrots in my ears. Why don't blind people go skydiving? It scares the hell out of their dogs." A young man is walking down the road, and a frog speaks to him from the grass in the ditch. "Kiss me and I will turn into a beautiful princess," the frog says. The young man smiles, picks up the frog and puts it in his coat pocket. The frog speaks up again. "Did you hear me? If you kiss me, I will turn in a beautiful princess, and I will be very grateful. The young man takes frog out of his pocket, smiles at it, and puts it back in his pocket again. The frog, now sounding confused and a little desperate, says, I don't think you understand. If you kiss me, I will turn in a beautiful princess, the woman of your dreams. And I will be willing to do anything that you want. The young man takes the frog out of his pocket, smiles at it, and says, Look, I am an engineering student. I don't have time for a girlfriend. But a talking frog is really cool. Did you hear about the dyslexic, agnostic, insomniac? He can't sleep at night because he's wondering about the existence of dog. A cop is parked outside the local bar right around closing time, watching people coming out to their cars, trying to catch some drunk drivers. The first man out of the bar stumbles to the ground, flounders around, drags himself up to his feet, walks over to the parking lot full of cars, stumbles his way over to a car, walks himself hand over hand along the fender till he gets to the door, drops his keys, falls over trying to pick them up, unlocks the door from the ground, hoists himself up into the car, and drives away. The cop immediately pulls him over. Makes him do the field sobriety tests, which the man aces. Breathalyzes him, man blows a 0.0. The cop says, What the hell is going on here? The man nods to the now empty parking lot and says, I'm the decoy. A smartly dressed frog hops into a bank, needing money for some business venture. Patiently, he waits in the lobby with a little locked case perched on his knees. Finally, he is ushered into the office of Patricia Black. After going over the numbers, Ms. Black expresses concerns about giving a large sum of money to a frog. She demands he put up collateral. As if waiting for this very moment, with an air of great anticipation he opens the locked case to reveal the treasure inside. Puzzled by what appears to be a worthless piece of junk in the case, Patricia declines the frog's request. Our man the frog just has to insist that she involve her supervisor. Surely when he sees the value of the item in the case the money will be handed over. Patricia humors him and calls her boss in. He takes one look in the case and gasps. It's a knick-knack, Patty Black. Give the frog a loan. How many tickles does it take to make an octopus laugh? 10 tickles. The police came to my house this weekend. They said my dog has been chasing the neighbor's kid on a bicycle. I told them it couldn't be my dog, he doesn't even have a bicycle. A dad and his very young son go to a restaurant. The dad tells the waiter, 1 ice cream and 1 beer. Son says, Why ice cream? Why don't you also get a beer, Dad? What's the difference between a good nurse and a super nurse? A good nurse can do the bed without disturbing the patient. A super nurse can do the patient without disturbing the bed.
I just got these shoes from a drug dealer. I don't know what he laced them with, but I've been tripping all day.
A Jewish guy walks into a synagogue and goes straight over to the rabbi. He says, Rabbi, I need help. I have a big problem with my son. I did all that I could to raise him in the faith. I took him to Sabbath services every Saturday, and sent him to Hebrew school after regular school every Wednesday. He had a bar mitzvah. I sent him on a trip to Israel. I even sent him to seminary college for Jews. Yesterday, he came to me and said that he wanted to convert and become a Christian. The rabbi replies, You know, it's funny that you should come to me about this. I also have a son that I did all I could to raise as a Jew. I brought him to temple every Saturday. He went to Hebrew school after regular school too. He had a bar mitzvah, visited Israel, and went to seminary college as well. He too came to me and said that he wanted to convert and become a Christian. The Jewish guy inquires, Well, what did you do about it? The rabbi tells him that he asked God about it. Well, what did God say? Asks the guy. God said, You know, it's funny you should come to me about this. A biker walks into a bar and sits down on a bar stool near the end of the bar. He takes a look at the menu and it reads as follows. Hamburger, $2.99. Cheeseburger, $3.99. Chicken sandwich, $4.99. Hand jobs, $19.99. The crusty old biker waves the bartender down, and up walks this tall, busty, beautiful redhead in her mid-20s. She smiles at the biker coyly, and he asks in a quiet voice, "You the one who gives the hand jobs?" The bartender blushes slightly and says, "Yes, I am," with a sexy little smile. The biker grins and says, "Well, wash your hands, because I want a cheeseburger."
How do you make holy water? Put it in a pot and boil the hell out of it. Two clowns are eating a cannibal, and the first clown turns to the second clown and says, "I think we got this joke wrong."
A warning to all you drivers at Christmas. Be careful about drunk driving as we are getting close to Christmas and police are out there checking on people. Last night, I was out for a few drinks. One thing led to another, and I had a few too many cocktails and then went on to the wine. Not a good idea. Knowing I was over the limit, I decided to leave my car at the bar and took a bus home. Sure enough, I passed a police checkpoint where they were pulling over drivers and performing breathalyzer tests. Because I was in a bus, they just waved it past. I arrived home safely and without incident, which was a real surprise as I've never driven a bus before and I am not even sure where I got it from.